Morning, good afternoon, good evening, lovely audience. Depending on where you're watching us from, this is Kunle Olufemi with another exciting episode of Adventures. As you know, on Adventures, we seek to bring you the inspiring stories behind the brands and the businesses that you see around you every day. By bringing you their stories, we believe that by learning from their mistakes, by hearing the things they've done right, we believe that we can help you achieve faster success faster by avoiding the mistakes that they made on their own journey. Today we have an exciting guest in the studio that will be sharing another exciting story with us. Now, before I, you know, before I bring him on to share about himself, I will just read a little profile about him. He's no other person but Mr. Abasiama Idaresit. Mr. Abasiama Idaresit is a Nigerian technology entrepreneur, best known for shaping the early waves of digital marketing and digital infrastructure across Africa. Born in Calabar, he studied information systems and management at the London School of Economics and later earned an MBA from Manchester Business School. This training prepared him for a transformative career in Africa's fast-growing digital economy. He founded Wild Fusion, which began as a digital marketing agency and grew into Fusion Holdings, an African conglomerate operating in Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. His leadership has earned him global recognition, including listing by Forbes Africa as one of the 10 African internet millionaires to watch. Today, Abasiama Idaresit is regarded not just as a digital pioneer, but as a strategist who champions building Africa's financial rails and data infrastructure to support the continent's next phase of economic growth. Welcome with me, Abbas, as we popularly call him. Right. So, good afternoon, Abbas, and thanks for coming on the adventures.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunle, for having me. Absolutely a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, like I said earlier, we just we keep this very conversational, right? No pressures, and I just want you to, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, our audience, a little bit about yourself, what you do. As I normally jokingly say, that you never can tell your next customer, and I know that you're already a big, businessman, right? But your next customer may be on my timeline, right? So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and the scale of your impact, I think that will be a good start. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunle. And hey, guys, listeners, really, really great to be on the show today. I'm looking forward to taking you on a journey. And I sincerely hope that I can share and someone would learn from my mistakes, especially so you don't make them. My name is Abasiama Idaresit, popularly called Abbas. You can just call me Abbas anytime, any day. I started Wild Fusion many moons ago. Then it was pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook, pre-Twitter. There were dinosaurs on the street. So it was it was very early days, to be honest, for the concept of digital marketing, because digital marketing as of that time was completely unknown. You had traditional forms of marketing, the radio, the billboards, the TV, prints. That was all people were doing back in the days. There was no Instagram, no Twitter, no Snap, no WhatsApp. So what we had then was Yahoo, and MSN search, Bing. That's formerly formerly Bing search. MSN search was then called, it was MSN search first before Bing, and Facebook as of that time. So it was very difficult. Yes, it was a blue ocean, but absolutely difficult, Kunle, getting the business off the ground. Absolutely difficult, knocking
This
on
would be
doors.
10, 15 years ago.
2010.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. So knocking on doors and nobody wanted to listen. I would spend about 90% of my pitch duration training and educating people about the product, and 10%, 5% pitching. So it was overly difficult, weeks down to months and months to quarters, and no income. No income. And you know what that does to an entrepreneur? You survive or it breaks you. Pressure from all sides. Family, dad, mom, we've spent so much money on your education. Listen, man, you
Education.
better just get a job. Call Uncle
We want
this, call Uncle
ROI.
that. We want returns on investments. Call Uncle this, call Uncle that. Listen, we can't just keep waiting for you, man. This whole thing you're talking about, listen, it's going to come, but maybe it's in another 5, 10 years or whatever. Cut the long story short, I persevered and I got my first client in month 8 of starting the business. So 8 months of no income, it was absolutely difficult. And for me, that was a very important moment for me. It's either you prove it or you sink. So for me, I put in every single thing I had, day and night. And from there, one became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000. And over again, more clients started coming, people started seeing the results, case studies, and all of that. So, and we evolved from just being a digital marketing agency, Wild Fusion, to being a technology holding company. That's Wild Fusion Holdings, with subsidiaries with fintech subsidiaries, digital marketing subsidiaries, a training center. The fintech subsidiaries is a licensed agency bank by the central bank, so that's still part of the the Wild Fusion Holding portfolio. And yeah, other than that, I've also done a little bit of angel investment and venture capital. So for me, it was very important to not only support the infrastructure, but also to invest in other technology companies over that period of time. So that was really, really critical. And in investing in young, budding technology company, there are so many lessons you can share. There are also so many lessons you learn as an angel investor and also as a venture capitalist. You make some money, you lose a lot of money while you're learning until you get to a point where you know the frog to kiss and the frog that will turn
That
to a
was,
prince. You don't go around,
yeah.
tapping on everyone and all of that. So, yes. So, in a nutshell, what I do now day to day, circling back to your question, Mr. Kunle, it's I'm responsible for the holdco, ensuring the profitability of the subsidiaries, and also very importantly, growing the conglomerate premium, if you may. Conglomerate premium basically means synergizing the different subsidiaries so that way
Sure
there's
that.
economy of scale, there is cost reduction, profitability improves, and there's a synergy between the subsidiaries. If you don't do that well, you suffer from what they call conglomerate discount, where the different systems or subsidiaries are not effectively increasing the ROI of the group or the ROI of the holding company.
Got it. Got it. And that is super helpful. Now I'm so tempted to start getting into the details of that because things like this kind of excite me, but I will hold myself back a little bit, right, and try and follow the script. Thanks a lot, Abbas, for sharing all
You're
of that.
welcome.
I guess the if you, for the sake of our viewers, if you can just I was looking at your website before I asked that question, and I saw some big names on the website in terms of client base that you serve. I think I saw Nestle. I saw a couple of
Not
like,
Nestle, Unilever. Don't put me
was
in
it
trouble.
Unilever? Yeah, Unilever, and yeah, and yeah, it must have been Unilever. Yeah, in my head, I kind of mixed it up. Now, will you be able to share just some of the clients that you serve right today in terms of your digital marketing outfit and in the fintech? If you can share a little about the subscriber base, just to give an idea of the scale of what you're doing, I think that would be very helpful.
Right. So the digital marketing we have been working with Unilever for so many years, well over a decade, and Unilever, as you know, it's an FMCG fast-moving consumer good company with multiple brands. The great brands like Knorr and Close Up and Pepsodent, all those great brands. These are all part of the Unilever portfolio. And we do service Unilever across multiple countries, not just in Nigeria alone. Not only Unilever, we have a number of other clients, including Coca-Cola, including Lafarge, Diageo, Guinness, and all of that. So over years, we have built very strong relationship of delivering value and supporting their expansion plans, not just in Nigeria but in Africa. We understand the African market very well. We understand the consumer very well. We understand the terrain. So we do help these global brands to succeed in our market because when they succeed, it has a multiplier effect on the local economy. I'm sure you've seen in the news in the last couple of years the barrage of headwinds the FMCG industry faced. Some of them folded up and some of them left the country. It's so important that the service providers that we offer optimal service at the right price so they can survive, they can grow, they can thrive in market like ours. And because if that happens, more people are retained, more jobs are retained. There's an entire ecosystem built around these organizations. As regarding the fintechs, we just received our license, so we're still at a very early stage. So in terms of numbers, I won't be explicit on the numbers, but we are still at a very early stage. And I'm really excited at what we're doing in that space, building out the infrastructure, partnering with other organizations, and rolling out different types of services, from the cash in, cash out on your POS device, to payment and transaction services. So that's all part of the ecosystem. And our training business has been in existence for about 10 years. It's very important because we all think about physical infrastructure. We all think about roads, bridges, airports, electricity, but there's also a key infrastructure that is so important: human infrastructure, people. If you don't build human infrastructure, or if you don't invest in people or provide the capacity or the opportunity for these ones to develop their capacity, then the sheer size of our population becomes detrimental to the country. 250 million people in a country that are untrained, it's overly risky.
Disaster, disaster in the
It's overly risky.
making.
So for me, building out the infrastructure for capacity building was so critical and so important. So that's why we have different types of technology training services, from digital marketing to
Okay.
cybersecurity to artificial intelligence to data analytics, to growth marketing. All of these are all focused and geared towards impacting and improving human
People.
capital and infrastructure. Yeah. So that's just a snapshot, like a bird eye view over the group and what we do
You do.
from day to day.
Thanks a lot, Abbas, for sharing that. If I may ask, when did you start the training outfit, and like how many people do you think have gone through your, training systems in one form or the other?
Yeah. So just to give you a bit of background, I am a third generation teacher. I love teaching. I love standing in front of people to teach. My
Don't
granddad
tell
was
me
a
you take
teacher.
classes yourself.
I do take classes myself. I do take
Come
classes myself,
on.
and I don't get paid because I passionately love to teach.
Who is going to pay you?
I don't expect to get paid. Let's put it that way. So third generation, my granddad was a teacher, very great teacher. My dad, fantastic teacher. Setting up the training center was just a natural, what's inherently built up in me or in me, right in my DNA. My siblings are also trainers in the training center. So my younger brother is one of the finest SEO trainer I've ever met myself, and I'm so proud of him. And it's been very exciting since 2014. It's about this year will make it 12 years since the training center was set up. And for me, I intentionally refused to go digital with the training. I kept it strictly in house because it wasn't just about training, it's about people working together, it's about acculturating, it's about ensuring that people get the finest quality training experience. So, in class training, over 4,000 people have been trained in class. So that's a lot that goes out there, and I'm so proud when I see alumni everywhere. Sometimes I travel around, and I mean, I was in Kent in England a few months ago, and someone walked up to me, and I'm like, and greeted, and I'm like, "Who are you?" He was like, "I came to the training center. Look at where I am now. I was able to get a visa after the training. I got a job in England. Look at where I am." He was so excited. He showed me his son. We took selfies, and I was like, "Wow,
Wow.
this makes me feel like one of those university professors. When you walk down the street, they come up to you and they're like, you remember in year one, 1988, you trained my father." I'm just like, God, how am I going to deal with all of this? But yeah, so I get to see that a lot. I get to see that a lot,
Mm,
even outside the country and in the
mm,
country. And I'm so proud of it. There's just something very fulfilling when you're able to move people from
mm.
point A to
Here
point
to
B.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely, absolutely very satisfying.
Wow. Wow. Thanks a lot for sharing that. I totally share your sentiment when it comes to being intentional about people development, right? And putting into the hands of people the skills that they need to not just survive out there but to thrive, and being futuristic about it, also not just about the skills that back in the day when you probably went to university, they taught you certain things. I don't know where you schooled, but I schooled back in Nigeria, and at times you are in class and they are teaching you stuff, and you're like, okay, this thing you're teaching me, what is the relevance of of this subject and this topic to not just the economy as of today or to the society as of today, but the emerging society. How are we going to be able to use this thing? You get what I mean? But what you
Right.
are doing, they are so hands-on, they are so relevant, they are so useful that people practically can leave the classroom or finish the course, and there is relevance, and they can immediately begin
Yeah.
to deploy all the things that they've learned. So I think it's something great. Um, we didn't talk a lot about me, but before we started, but my background is in education, right? So
Oh,
I
really? Okay.
understand, yeah, and I look after sales capabilities for Reckitt globally now, based in the UK. So
Interesting.
I can relate with, I can relate. This is like what I do. Spend bulk of my time trying to do every day. I don't always take classes, right? But I look after the programs, broadly speaking. But
Right. Right.
this is about you, right? Now, if I look at the timelines, it looks like you started Wild Fusion, or the digital marketing outfit 2010. About 4 years later, you started the
The training
training
center.
outfit,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
And then maybe okay. If we go a little further back, right before before Wild Fusion started, right, or the training outfit and all of that, can you give us a little bit of, about yourself, your education? I know you schooled in England and all of that, but a little bit, and I'm asking that because I want to get into, you know, how did you come by the whole idea of wide fusion, especially in that time and age, right? So that's why I'm asking about your background before I get into that. I hope that makes sense.
Right. 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 Absolutely. So I think I'll take you further down, maybe to my preteens days. So, being a third generation teacher, if you may, you grow up in a place where you have to read a lot. I read my grandfather's books. I read my dad's books. I read Victorian novels. And if you know what Victorian novels are, they are very descriptive. A lot of them are, because there were no TVs and radios and all of that media channels back then in Victorian times. Most of the novels were very descriptive. They have to
Mm.
describe, every single thing for you.
Activate people's
So
imagination. Yeah.
imaginations and all of that. So I spent my early days. I read so much. I literally read. I knew something about almost everything as a kid growing up. After secondary school, I got into a number of Nigerian universities and universities. I kept dropping off because I felt I wanted more. I wanted more. I remember getting admission into a particular university, no name. I'm not going to disclose, no matter how much you pressure me. I'm not going to disclose.
Okay, I won't.
And the programming class, when you have a programming lesson, and this was computer science or a programming module or whatever, and the programming lessons or the programming practicals were on handout. And it was
Wow.
so obvious the lecturer
Wow.
probably haven't written a computer program before. Not to play down on Nigerian universities, absolutely great universities around the world. We've had some of our finest brains that we've exported out of the country have come from really, really good universities. Absolutely great platforms. The FAIRs, the Unilag, the Covenant, the Pan Atlantics, the FUTO, great, all over the country, north, east, west, and south. And in my head, I kept saying, this is not what I want. I want more. When you're sitting in a class and you feel like I want a lot more than this. So that quest, that yearning, that hunger for more led me to reading a lot more, researching a lot more, intentionally looking to live in the future, being very unorthodox. If everybody goes left, I want to go right. If everybody's going right, I want to go left. What happens? Let's check it out. Just being overly curious. So that led me to where I am, where everybody was on a particular path in the world of marketing or communication. I'm like, no, listen, this is the future. Why don't we live in the future? Why don't we disrupt this? Why don't we try something new? Why can't we be unorthodox? Why can't we take bold decisions, and do things differently? So I'm just giving you a bit of that background, and you can see all of that somehow trickling on my part to starting up Wild Fusion. Yeah, and for the training center, it was so critical because at that time, you couldn't really find the right skills you needed to build an industry. There was no digital marketing training infrastructure or structure or tech center or whatever as of that time. So in my head, it wasn't for profit. It was build capacity. I need this capacity. If we don't have this capacity, how is the industry going to grow? How are we going to expand the business? I can't do everything from SEO to content to creative to strategy or analytics and intelligence and data and all of that. I can do everything. So they have to be some way of taking this capacity and putting it out there to multiple people so that way the industry begin to grow. And I'm so proud of a very huge alumni base that we do have now. Alumni that are actually, creating impact around the world, including the global companies from Microsoft to Apple to TikTok to Google. We do have alumni all in these organizations and also in Nigeria. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very grateful to God for that. It's all from Him and all through Him. So that is very important for me, and that is how I have evolved as a child. That was my mindset, my posture as a child, coming into the world of business and then starting Wild Fusion and then the training center.
Got it. That is very helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So in
You're
between your
welcome.
university days and the time that you started Wild Fusion, did you work in any place? Did you do any 9 to 5, or it was all like, I have clarity
Yeah,
on what I want to do. I'm going for it.
I have always known I'll be an entrepreneur. I always knew that. Always knew that. Hence, my degree was in information systems and management. And I wanted that management side of the degree because it's about managing a business
The
and
business side
managing
of
an
things. Yep.
organization. Yeah, the business side of things. Yes, I did work as a consultant for a company called Schumacher Ashstreet. It was a consulting company with operations in Sydney, London, and also in Lagos. We're consulting for Dangote Cement at that time. But it was more on the technology consulting side of it. So I was one of the junior consultant there. That was also very helpful for me. A few gigs here and there before I ended up starting Wild Fusion. Did I have to? Do I think I had all the necessary experience to start and build a company at that time? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. You know, and which is why I would like to use this opportunity to encourage anyone, if you are ready to start, especially at the start of a new year like this, go for it. Sometimes you can get paralyzed by over analyzing. If you want to start, take that jump, make that move, start that business, write that book, start that blog. Do it. You do it. Family felt I should take some more time, have some more work experience. And I'm like, I'm just going to give it a shot, as ill prepared as I am. Thinking about it then, I felt like I went into a gunfight with a blue dart, you know. But somehow I survived. And, and if I'm to live my life again, if I'm to live my life again, or if I'm to go back to those days again, I'll absolutely start much earlier, maybe 5, 6 years earlier,
Wow.
because there are
Wow.
litany of opportunities now compared to back then. Litany
What
of
you had.
information, tools, artificial intelligence, possibilities, crypto, blockchain. Just take on one thing, be a master of it, and and go for it.
Abbas, you're throwing me in 1,000 directions.
Please. That wasn't my intent.
No, it's in a very good way, by the way, in a very good way, and
Right,
I appreciate you,
right.
you know, um, just sharing, not just from your heart, but even throwing a word in there for somebody who is probably thinking of something now and they are killing themselves with analysis, calling all the data, asking for this and asking for that, because, to your point, over analyzing at times can just cripple us and we can't do anything. So, really good to hear you share that. Um, my next question is around, now I know that curiosity, right, kind of set you up for this, right? And you did a couple of gigs here and there, consulting tech and all of that. But this was at some point you were about to stake your life on something that was probably not proven, right? It looked like, yeah, it looked like a possibility, but definitely not proven. And I'm not sure we had a lot of data back then to give you like a size of the market or what the size of the potential. And I'm wondering, how did you convince yourself that this is is worth your life, right? Is worth just going in that direction, leaving everything behind, even possibly getting into a fight or two with mom and dad, like, or with family, to say
Oh
that
dear,
what, this is the right
oh
thing.
man, I got into a fight. I got into a fight with dad. So typically from my part of the world, we come from a place where I come from a state where you have to be very respectful. Obviously it's across Africa and across Nigeria to paternal and maternal authority. So
Authorities.
going out to start a business, I had to seek paternal blessings, you know, and went to my dad. My dad was like, nope, don't even think about it. Just focus. Don't do it. And I'm like, I'm not asking for capital. This is a service business. I have the skills. I just need the green light, the paternal consent, if you may, to get started. And it was quite difficult. So let's even leave convincing myself. Let's even focus on convincing him, because you need to be convinced to even convince him. So one of the things I tabled before him, which my elder brother was also very, very helpful in supporting, was, listen, I can afford to make mistakes now and I'll recover. This will be a lot harder if I have responsibilities and if I'm older, I'll probably be unable to take such reckless pant waiting risk. So let me do this. If it doesn't work out in 18 months, I'll go get a job. But let it not be for want of trying. Let me try and fail. And it was at that point it made sense to him. And he said, that makes sense. Let it get into my journals that I tried and it did not work out. It's never going to be for want of trying if I don't ever get on the path of business. So that was when I got his consent and his blessing. He said, go ahead. And I prayed works and I'm praying for you and all of that. And I went out. So that was on the paternal and maternal side. Personally, from my point of view, you have to work with data. And the way I saw technology, partly because of what I studied, I could see that an evolution was coming that was sweeping over the world and has already started sweeping all over the world as of that time. There were innovations in the West. It would take about 5-6 years for it to get to Africa. So if it's taken off in the West, give it another 5-6 years, it's going to be here. So you see it in the West, in Africa or in an emerging market, you're already sitting on a blue ocean. So take, for example, there are lots of opportunity AI has created today in the West. In some emerging market or global south, there's a blue ocean because they're uncharted territory in this market. If you say it working over there, it is locally, when you see it's locally relevant in your market, by all means, get started with it. Yeah, get starting with it if you're passionate about it and if you want to, especially if it's a blue ocean, and you can compete and perhaps you can build something for yourself before the water gets murkier, and yeah, absolutely. So I could see that coming. I was like, listen, digital marketing is the future of marketing. What are you guys all doing with all of these things? I'm going to go wait for you guys in the future. That was it. The same way someone could have said, listen, fintech is the future of banking as of that time. There were still checks and ATM and all of that. I'm going to go wait for you guys in the future. The same way someone could say, listen, crypto is the future of transaction. I'm going to go wait for you guys in the future. I'm heading. The same way someone would say AI is the future of, I attended a deep tech conference yesterday in Victoria Island, and it was so interesting, some of the things that were shared. For example, AI models are being used right now for drug discovery and pattern tracing and diagnosis and all of that. So basically moving drug discovery from the lab to computer screens and computer models and servers and all of that. So if that is already happening out in your market like this, if you want to be in the future, and you can go into the future and wait for the market to catch up with you, but there's also the risk of being too early. There is also being a risk of starting too early. You have to consider all of that. And also there's a risk of starting too late. So you have to know the right time, both for you and also for the market. So just in wrapping up your question or responding to you, I had to convince myself by looking at the data, what was going on in other market. And I knew it was just a matter of time for it to get to Africa, especially mobile advertising, because our market was more mobile first than other market. Then I could see what was going on with M-Pesa in Kenya. M-Pesa, it's Africa's export, or mobile money is Africa's technology innovation export to the world. So it was just a matter of time for mobile money, mobile payment, mobile advertising, mobile retail use of technology to become prevalent in the continent. So that informed my first mover's advantage.
So you are very clear that the opportunity is big, and this is going to work. Like if it is happening already in the West, it will happen here. It's just a matter of time.
Yep. It's just a matter of time, but just be very careful for the listeners. Just be careful of the market you're going in, that you're not walking into a rabbit hole. Some spaces are too small. You can't stay there for too long. You
Yeah,
have to make sure that you're in a place where you can thrive and grow and expand and
absolutely.
scale, at least for another 20, 30 years or 2, 3 decades.
Now, I fully agree with you. I just feel like there's something tricky here, and I need you to help me a little bit, right? And help our
I'm all
audience.
yours. I'm all yours, Kunle, and I'm all the audience, Kunle.
So, before working for Reckitt, I also work a little bit for Procter and Gamble, right? So I've been within the FMCG space for a while. So I know Unilever, I know Nestle. We compete with. Do you understand? I know these guys now, and I remember back in the day that folks will come to the Nigerian business and will tell us that, hey guys, this is the future of retail. This is the future of retail. Modern trade is going to become boom, the main thing, right? And in Nigeria, it's still less than 30% of our business, right? From a total business that is still very small relative to, no, it's grown to be honest, right? But not just as fast as people predicted it would grow. You understand? And my concern or my question is around looking at what is happening in the West and seeing that as a kind of opportunity that we want to bring into our own kind of ecosystem or our own kind of space. How do we discern between the chaff and the wheat, right? Because there are a lot of things in the West today that will probably never take off
Absolutely.
in back home. So
Absolutely. No, 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 no,
how do
no.
we make
Absolutely.
those?
Absolutely. So if you look at, I mean, different markets have different complexities and different elements that inform the uniqueness of this market. And whatever you're importing, whatever you're bringing, you have to adapt them. You have to adapt these ideas to suit the peculiarities of your market, taking into consideration cultural, behavioral, social. You can't just bring it from the West hook, line, and sinker. You have to understand the uniqueness of your market, and then you have to then distill what your market needs and piece that together. So take, for example, digital wallet was a global concept for the world, but mobile wallet was an African concept. With an M-Pesa proved the world that mobile wallet or mobile banking with M-Pesa is a uniquely an African innovation. Is it something that is overly brand new? No, because there was digital wallet. Yeah. But tying it to mobile phones and mobile IDs and all of that, storing money on mobile wallets and all of that was an African solution. Think of it like a version 2, much more much more aligned with the peculiarities of the African market. If you have a solution, let's say technology solution from the West, and you're bringing it to Africa, depending on the year or depending on the time, you have to understand the different peculiarities in each of this market. Africa is a more mobile first region. When I was starting, it was more mobile first. So I was very big on mobile advertising. So even the FMCG, when engaging with customers, they want to engage with customers on a retail, one-on-one, mobile approach. So it was a mobile first strategy for at least about 10 years with the FMCGs, which may not have been the case in other markets because of how the markets have evolved and the rest of that. So the same thing applies with anything. Anything you're bringing in, you have to understand the peculiarities of your market. Wild Fusion does have operations in Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. And even within Africa, I could see some uniqueness in each of these markets. They're not the same. I remember when we set up our Ghana operation, culturally, I could see differences between the Ghanaians and the Nigerians. And at some point there was a lot of tension between myself and my Ghanaian brothers,
Teams.
because because the Nigerians seem to be more, and
Let's
the
go, let's
Ghanaians
go,
are,
let's go.
let's
Guy,
go, and
chill,
the
man.
Ghanaians are, take it easy, we'll get there, we'll get. I'm like, guys, listen, this is, Lagos, this is, so I have to at some point accommodate this different
Approach.
complexities and approach. There's definitely beauty in diversity. So if you're bringing, circling back to your question, if you're bringing anything from outside the country, you must adapt it. You can't bring it hook, line, and sinker. Think about the
Absolutely.
uniqueness of your environment, and there should be a product market fit before you launch the product. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that just helps me kind of bring it all into perspective, right? And I think it's safe to say or to conclude that you have that your depth of local understanding, right, of local knowledge of the local geography of the people of you have this local knowledge so much that it helps you kind of bring everything into relevance and into what really can work in this space and what cannot work. And will you say that was like a big factor in how successful the business have been so far?
Definitely a big factor. Definitely a big factor. I failed a number of times in Kenya. I failed a number of times in Ghana. The business literally collapsed almost 3 4 times in Ghana. In different years. We had to shut it down, set it up, start the operation again, shut it down, start the operation again. Those are all learning curves, because you can't take a Nigerian mindset and approach to another market and you think it will work. It doesn't. Each market has its complexity. There are 54 countries in Africa. If you want to play an African play, you have to understand the market. You have to understand the locals, the culture. You have to respect the social dynamics in each of this market. You have to adapt your product to respect the boundaries, the cultural and the social boundaries that exist in this market.
Within the most market.
Yeah, so definitely, there is a role, your depth of understanding, your social understanding and cultural understanding and local understanding of the market has to play in the success of a product or a company.
Are
And
you?
that's why we struggled before we got to cruising altitude, for lack of better description.
But
We struggled in Ghana. Yeah.
so if you thanks a lot for sharing that. If I just double click a little bit into that, if you don't mind, Abbas. So if you have to go into Ghana again, let's say you've not succeeded, right? But you want to go in as why are you making that face? You know the question
No,
already,
no,
right?
I know the question, but keep going for the sake of the audience.
Okay, so what will you do differently, right? What how will you mitigate for, because if you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the knowledge, right? But you need to enter this market, right? How will you mitigate that risk such that, yes, I don't have all the understanding, but I still want to succeed and I don't want to fail too many times?
Right. There are different ways to do it. Advisory is so important. Advisory is so important. Setting up a board of advisors, setting up the right sets of people to nudge you on or to advise you in this market is very important. Partnership is so critical, and partnership could be in different forms. There could be deep partnership, and there could just be a formal partnership. What I call formal partnership would be a handshake with a local company or a local that has good understanding of the market. A deep partnership could be a merger and acquisition. If you
Okay.
have the gunpowder to play to acquire, if you have the gunpowder for that battle, then you can definitely acquire, which makes a lot of sense, because those guys have conquered the market, gotten profitable, or your target company would have gotten made some progress in
Established.
that country,
They at cruise
established,
altitude, right? So
profitable.
yeah,
Yeah, they are at cruising altitude, so you don't need to do
yeah,
all the heavy lifting. You just go
yeah.
acquire, and you're at cruising altitude. You leapfrog so many things. That's a deep partnership. You may want to also invest in a local company. That's also another form of partnership. But all of these things that I have broken down here involves one, having advisors, two, partners, and these partners could be a formal partnership or a deep partnership. A deep partnership could be through an acquisition. It could also be through relinquishing shares to locals. So you build together with them, which is a form of partnership. It could also be putting up a board of advisors or a group of advisors who are locals, and you have to compensate them in a way defined, fulfilling, or satisfactory. Don't think that you know it all. Yeah, I felt the same way when going to Ghana. I felt like, come on now, Charlie, it's just next door Ghana now. Yeah, my brother, it's not hard. Just go in there. It will happen somehow, somehow. But no, 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 no. You have to respect the people. You have not. I wasn't disrespectful, but you have
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
respect the complexity of each individual market. You
That trade
tiptoe in,
landscape. Yeah.
cautiously in, do your market research, gather all your data, follow due process, and every single thing. So yeah, I did lose less. We did lose a lot of money before we finally got established in Ghana because of this complexities.
Factors.
You know, yeah.
So it's safe to say that your initial approach was basically to just ship a couple of people from Nigeria, got them a house, set them up and
No,
say, guys,
no,
enter
no,
the
no,
market,
no, no,
conquer
no,
it.
no, no, no. As a matter of fact, I see myself as very my leadership and my style. I am a very inclusive, sustainable. I have a very sustainable mindset. So I was very big on Ghanaians running the business. So my concept of that, my partnership concept was get a man, a country director, build a Ghanaian team, let them run it. So I've never shipped Nigerian overseas.
Overseas. Right.
I've never done that in Ghana, in Kenya. I've never done that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just trying to that is clear. Thanks for sharing that. I'm just trying to understand why the initial attempts didn't work out. Right. Did you get that? Did you get that?
Yes, yes. I mean, if I'm to double click on Ghana again, the reason why it didn't work out, it was still too early for Ghana. I went into Ghana in 2012, 2 years after Nigeria. So Nigeria, as
You
gang
had
gang
dream.
as it
you
was,
had you had dreaming. Are
I
you
went
still
into
that
Ghana
dreaming?
2012, and Ghana only picked up in 2014, 2015.
No, hang on, boss. Let me process this. Right. Let me process this. You started 2010. You got your
Right.
first deal. You got your first contract or your first
2010,
sales business.
2010, yep,
2010,
whatever,
eight
all
months
true.
later, right? And 14 months after that, you are looking into another country.
No, no, no. Let me break it down. So I started in 2009. So
Okay.
8 months later into 2010 that I got the
Okay.
first deal, I had to
You got
incorporate
the
the
first
company.
deal. Got it.
Yeah, I incorporated the company. So
You
a lot of the 8 months, a large chunk of the 8 months was in 2009. So the company
see.
was incorporated in January 2010.
Okay. 2010. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
And then
just
in
say about 18
2012,
months later, Ghana.
you're
Yeah.
looking
Look,
at
listen,
Ghana.
I was so adventurous. I mean, when I felt like, well, let me put it this way. I like the name of this podcast. I was an adventurer.
Adventures.
So
I get it.
where I was heading to, I wanted to, for lack of better description, set Africa free from a technology point of view. I wanted to set up in 54 countries. I wanted to break the shackles, use technology to,
Yeah.
Viva Africa,
Yeah.
liberate 54 countries, da 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 da, and all of that stuff. Look, listen, on the
That
third
is
country,
getting
I ran out of
moderated
bread.
right now, right?
I ran out of bread by the third country. And I'm like, listen, man, some things are bigger than my paycheck. So I'm just being absolutely vulnerable right now. So yeah. Have the business been successful? Yes. Have we made a number of mistakes? Yes. Have we had a lot of wins? Yes. Have we learned a lot of lessons? Yes. I think could things been done better or smarter? Absolutely yes. I am still very grateful for where we are and where we're going. So just a little bit of, sharing for the audience to learn a thing or two.
I mean, Abbas, thanks a lot for that. I mean, uh, the way I look at it, and I get your drive, I get your vision, I'm inspired by it, just to be clear, right? That drive, that passion, that willingness to conquer, right? And to go for it, right? Because you've conquered one, why can't we reapply this learning and all of that? I think I get that, and I think is really, I think is commendable, right? Just to say that. But I also see you doing it in another way, right? By the people you are raising. So you may not be the one, who will probably start all the companies in the 54 countries. But you see this army that you are raising that you've sent into all sort of places, right? It will shock you what will come back in 20 years and 25 years and what some of them will do in some of these countries. But then that is just me being getting prophetic now. Let
Yeah,
me keep quiet.
yes, absolutely. But you just have to put in the right structure.
Mm.
You just have to put in the right structure because everybody's swashbuckling, for lack of a better description. Everybody's got out there. They want to conquer their own lands. They want to create a name for themselves. If you want to build out maybe a franchise business where people go out with the name and conquer these lands and bring them back or whatever how you want to describe it or metaphorize it, they have to be a structure. It has to be very well structured. So it's sustainable, it's inclusive. One of the things not I learned, but I know in business, it's credibility is so important. The reputation of a brand is so important. The name of a business is so important. My reputation, my name, the name Wild Fusion, it's critical. It is it is what attracts new hires, and it's what attract partners and clients and all of that. So it's so important to structure a quest like that in such a way that the integrity of the brand it's maintained, the integrity of the founder it's preserved over time. Yeah,
Okay, so speaking of that, why Wild Fusion?
the name.
Why that name? Yeah, Wild
Listen,
Fusion. Why? And where did that come from?
it just came from a 20-something-year-old who was thinking of conquering the whole of Africa. And when I think about it now, decades later, should it have been a
Mm,
different name?
mm,
I'm glad it's Wow Fusion, but I probably
mm.
would have, you know, toned it down a little bit.
But the name
Yeah.
is opening
So
doors, right? Isn't it? So
no, no, no. Yeah, you have to. It's a name. A name. It's what you define and brand it to be. So I'm happy with it. I'm not regretting the name in any way. But when you ask why Wild Fusion, it is what came out of an unorthodox, adventurous heart, a wild heart, if you may, at that time. And that's where it came from: a wild mind, an adventurous mind, a conqueror's mind, a swashbuckling mind. Someone that is looking out to, from a business standpoint, take over the world, if you may.
thank you for sharing that and for being very transparent about it. For being very transparent about it.
You're welcome.
Now, if I pivot the conversation a little bit, if you don't mind,
Right.
and I know you are into services, so you're not like into manufacturing and all of that, but I'm wondering if you had the issues around financial constraints, like an average small startup or a startup kind of go through, right? Funding, managing staff, managing whatever you manage, right? I don't know if you experienced that, right? Being a service kind of offering, or and if you did, how did you kind of mitigate
Navigate it.
mitigate it? By the way,
Yeah,
for those first
absolutely.
8 months, were you paying yourself salaries,
Oh
or you're
no.
just
Oh no. You were living on the you were take no thought. Take no
For
thought.
yourself.
Consider the birds of the air.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yes, that's what happened in the 8th month. Circling back to your question, just to spotlight, to double click on it.
Yeah.
So the service business has less capital
Requirement.
cost requirement. So it's basically what's in your head, man hours for you to be able to create and deliver value. So that's how I started. I started with the service business so I can create some upside, create some value. And from that value, I can then expand into other markets, build infrastructure, fintech infrastructure companies, which are more capital intensive. My advice for your listeners or anybody listening who may be considering starting a business and may not have the capital, especially a tech company, building products can be very capital intensive. And that's why startups go out to raise capital, angel funding, Series A, pre-Series A, and all of that. I have seen a number of people start with a side service business by the side, and the service business build out, from there they use that to invest what they're looking to, they use that to build the product they want to build. I've also seen people, I've also seen people create a light version prototype of what they're trying to build. It's not very expensive, but at the back end, they're levers and human beings. It's not fully automated, so that's why it's not expensive. So at the back, at the back end, you still have people running up and down trying to make it work, but at the front end, it looks like a product. So that's one way or path people could take. As much as possible, I would always advise use a light prototype, or perhaps use a start with a service business to prove the concept, making sure that it's monetizable and make some money from using this part or these ideas before you go ahead to raise capital, to raise debt, or to invest significant amounts of money. So I give you a classic example. A lot of the global companies you see today, if you go back to their history, a lot of them, imagine a delivery company, you call, you want XYZ, or you call, some of them started with phone calls. They didn't build an app. So you call, I need a taxi, and they go back, call another taxi guy. Hey, there's someone, she's wearing red, she's standing at XYZ,
So
drive down
please.
there, go there. Hello, ma'am. He's on his way coming to meet you. The number plate is XPC. Thank you. The bill is. So by doing that, you see that the ride hailing model works.
Yeah.
And when you're speaking to a potential investor, you're like, this is what we've done for 8 months. This is how much we've made. If we can
This
automate
works.
this, revenue would grow 10x, profit will grow 5x, the cost of operation will reduce, by 40%, and all of that. So, and I've also seen some people, without doing any of that, go raise a lot of money to build product from bottom up. It can be
And does
quite,
that work?
it's very risky. It's very risky. Let's put it that way. A lot of people have lost so much money doing that.
All right. Thanks for sharing that, Abbas. Can you tell us about your first client? That client that gave you that break.
Oh, no, 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 no. So I tell you something here. My first client wasn't a big break. It was, so speaking to a number of companies, Kunle, I'll be honest with you, it was very difficult. The big companies were more frightened to take on something that was unknown, which is understandable. A lot of approval is required with bigger companies, and there will always be someone that is scared, one person that is scared, that would say, let's hold on a bit. This is uncharted territory. So from moving to tier one, I stopped talking to tier one. Started talking to tier two. Tier two, then started talking to tier three, to tier four, to tier five. And finally, my big client was, let me say, tier five. So she ran a small baby store, sells baby items. And I just came to her and I said, this will work. This will work. If it doesn't work, and I told her something, I said, if this doesn't work, I will return your money back. And she was like, nobody has ever spoken to me like that. And I said, I'm telling you, if this doesn't work, I'm a man of my word. I'll return your money back. Meanwhile, I didn't have a dime. I will return your money back.
Were you so sure it will work, or you were just like,
I was so certain. All I needed was just someone, just give me a chance. I've been on this for 8 months. If someone can just believe and give me a chance, I would give this my life for it to work. So, I mean, I had so much grit and in bracket hunger. So,
get that?
so yeah, and she did, and she gave $250.
Wow.
And she was making about $1,000.
Was this business in Nigeria or where?
Yeah, business in Nigeria. Yeah. She was making about $1,000 a month. That's about 150,000 naira then.
Back then, yeah.
Back then, yeah, 150,000 naira then. And I took the money, and honestly, Kunle, every day I was resuming at her place, at her shop,
Wow.
because I didn't have an office. But I would give this my all day and night. Her sales grew from $1,000. I'm not kidding you, Kunle. It's actually documented to $150,000 a month.
Wow.
In like 3 months.
Wow.
Google heard about this. They came to her office with cameras, with all their
everything, lights and cameras and everything.
The vice president of Google then, his name was Nelson Matters. He came, interviewed this woman herself, and that was when Google was just launching in Nigeria, 2010 or so, yeah. And they needed a lot of case study to prove that their product, works. So this was so incredible. That particular case study made into global top 10 case study, digital marketing case study in the world. This woman was flown to Google's headquarters, first class, to Google headquarters in Silicon Valley. And she was like, Abbas, I'm a village woman. I've never traveled out of the country. Blah, 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 blah. They flew this woman, and she went to give this case. She went to share this case study at Google's headquarters. They flew in 10 SMEs around the world. This woman was one of the 10, the first out of Nigeria. They didn't fly me. But Google did something really
do to you? The business.
Oh my God, a strong sense of conviction that, when you're popping your cola and you're like, you clear your throat and you're about to give a speech. The title of the speech was "I told you so," but I don't want to say "I told you so."
Yeah, no, that feeling.
It wasn't so much about the money because there was no money. Like the budget, I literally spent everything she gave on it. So it's just that strong sense of relief that this works. Someone at least believed in me and it worked. But yeah, Google was so supportive. I became the first Google partner in West Africa because of that case study. Google assigned an account manager to me. So every time they asked, how can we support? And what were your challenges? And I mentioned it to them. They assigned an account manager. So my meetings, Google was coming with me to meetings now. So I started moving from tier 5 back to tier 4 to tier 3, back to tier 1. Yeah. And I also got on CNN at that time and to talk about it. So all of that was so motivating and so inspiring. And that was how it all started. So that's it about the very first client.
So how long did it take you to kind of the impact and the difference you made on that business, right? From the time she signed off to the time that the business multiplied multiple folds. Like how long did that take? And in between that period,
maybe about 3-4 months. Because because I think the market was looking for validation. They wanted validation. And the whole thing about the Hertz effect, one person moves forward and the person didn't think, Everybody wants to move forward, you know. So I had that validation. I had that case study. I had that story to tell that this works. So I was more believable. I was more credible. The Google partnership brought a lot of credibility to the table, and an assigned account manager was also very supportive too. So those are the little things that actually broke down the walls of disbelief or unbelief in the use case and all of that. So again, going back, you don't want to be too early, you don't want to be too late. You want to just get in on time, just maybe perhaps slightly earlier than it should be. So that way you experience a blue ocean, you know, build your business and expand.
Hmm. So, normally when I have these conversations with entrepreneurs, about we talk about the startup story, we talk about you know the time they got the break, right? Maybe the big break, maybe the break, maybe the first client, and then we talk about inflection points, right? And I'm like, okay, so if you look at the time for most businesses, it's like they'll say like 5 years into business, that's when like they can say this is like the inflection point for us, right? We be stable, right? We're getting into that cruising altitude, and then something happened that just changed the trajectory. We just moved to another level entirely. For you, I don't know where to place that, right? I don't know if you get it as a question, but when would you say, or what would you say were the triggers, right? So when would you say was inflection point that basically just changed the game totally, and what would you say the triggers are? For me, it looks like this story, but that would be me jumping the gun, right? Because I wasn't I wasn't part of the story, right? It's just story. You experienced it, so you probably know you know better, definitely.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So the inflection point for me was about year five, year six, if I'm not mistaken, if memory
Okay.
serves me correctly. I realized the business wasn't very scalable because it's a service business, and service business is around human, depending on humans and yourself to create value. It's not as scalable as product. There is a key man risk. If a bus is not available, nothing gets done. We all have to. And I wanted so badly to scale. I wanted to move it from one country to another country to different countries. And I was already running out of breath by trying to get to the second country or the third country. And lots of balls in the air, lots of risk. And I'm like, hold on a second. This is fine and good. I like where I am, but is this where I really want to be? And for me, the answer was no, because I had invested in a number of product companies, tech companies, some of the early fintech companies at that time. I had invested in them and I had seen these guys scale aggressively because product helps you scale, you know. So in my head, I'm like, I can scale as fast as these guys because I'm in service. So that inflection point was like, okay, we need to start building out we need to start pivoting. We need to start thinking as a holdco. We need to start thinking as a conglomerate and bringing the fintech infrastructure, the scalable side of the business, as opposed reinvesting in the service side, which potentially has a number of risk, especially key man risk on the long term, and all of that. So I would say 2015, 2016 would be the inflection point. 5, 6 years after the incorporation of the company. Yeah.
And that internal push, because I know that you just started the fintech arm of the business, right? That 2015 inflection point, what would you, so you had that like internal push, you wanted to be more, you wanted to do more. What were the things that happened, right, that you did, right, as a result of that, that internal drive to be more, to do more? Now I know that you already started the training business, you tried to enter into Ghana, and then you started the, what's it called, you started the fintech thing more recently. So what happened at that point, and where did it take you to in terms of impact and relevance? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely does make sense. So yes, you're right. The fintech businesses was what's more recent, um, but around 2014, 2015, I started a venture capital firm called Green Tree with my partner, Dr. Ola, flying doctor, and Mr. Bode Augusto, late of blessed memory, who was chairman of the board. We invested in a number of companies at that time, strictly product companies. So during that period of time, we had a number of good investments, and I could see this company scale aggressively, especially because they were productized. And product companies obviously scale a lot faster than service businesses. One of our first investment was Paystack out of that time. So that when you see, and from there, I had also went personally to do almost about 15 to 16 investments in product companies, different healthcare, edtech, fintechs, all of that. I could see the power of technology come alive when the right solution meets the right problem, Kunle. And I was like, no, 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 no. We need to, this is an inflection point for me. I need to do something about the conglomerate. The good thing is the conglomerate, well, the good thing is the holdco or the group of companies was sustainable. And we had to now start thinking about how do we build in products? How do we productize the holdco? How do we then bring in the fintechs and other infrastructure, other solutions into the business. Um, my first thought was, you know what? I could keep investing in all of these guys. This could be like a another part of the business, but it didn't really turn out that way because I didn't want to be a private equity fund. I didn't want to own one. I didn't want to be a venture. It's very rigorous. It requires a lot of liquidity, and it requires a lot of scrutiny and regulatory permits and all of that. So for me, I said, okay, you know what? I think we should start thinking product. And we started thinking product with the board, smart, great people on the board and leadership of the company. We started productizing and building out new products for the market. And then at the same time too, we also saw that there was the only way out we could productize, and not only productize, we should also have our own independent subsidiaries within
Within
the
the
hold
group.
call. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so
No
helpful
worries.
because in my head I was just trying to square it to say that okay, this, and then an inflection. But I guess there are so many parts to you that
Right.
you're only giving some of us exclusives, right? There are some you're probably not mentioning, which
Exclusives.
is totally fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um, you mentioned something in passing the other time that I want to double click into. Now, if I hope I got it right, but you mentioned that when you started the holding companies, one of the things you do now, right, that you spend most of your time on is kind of ensuring that there is synergy between the different units, right? They're not just operating in silos. There is, they're collaborating, we are leveraging scale and all of that, right? And I'm wondering if you will be able to share, two questions on one. Number one, if you look at your entire, operations end to end today, like how many people roughly, right, do you have? If it is safe to share, if you don't feel comfortable, that's totally fine, right? Or you can just give a ballpark number, right? Like how many people, and then I would like to double click into how do you ensure this synergy? What are the things you do in practical terms, right? Because I tell you what, there are people who don't run holding companies, Abbas. They have just one. Within that one company, finance is fighting sales is fighting marketing is fighting. Do you understand? There is zero synergy. Everybody is seeking their own, everybody operating in silos, right? So for you to have built multiple outfits, right, and getting them to work together, right, though they have different things they are chasing, but there is that synergy. What are you doing differently, and what lessons can you know entrepreneurs learn from you? I hope that is clear.
Yeah. That absolutely clear. So I'll just want to speak on one thing.
Yeah,
I can't disclose the size of the employee size.
yeah,
Going to the in terms of synergy, that is absolutely so critical in business. If you have one unit fighting another unit, then you are literally you are facing significant structural internal risk. You can't have that as a businessman. It's better you sunset one unit and rebuild it again, as opposed to having sales, marketing fighting themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a discount from an efficiency standpoint. If you were to measure your efficiency, there's going to be a discount. It's so important to have a premium. When they work together, there is a decent lift in productivity. That's what you want. And then circling back to a holding company structure, it is so important to ensure that the different businesses not only work together, but they complement each other. They complement each other. So you don't have they complement each other. And when they complement each other, it reduces the cost of operation. There is more synergy. There is more, there's reduced cost. There is value optimization. And even your strategy as a business becomes stronger. I'll share a few things with you. So in a holdco, for example, there are certain units that are centralized. So for us, finance, it's centralized. So one company doesn't have its own finance unit. The finance sits in the center. So as a group CEO, I sit with the group finance, the finance team. So HR also sits in the center. So HR, it's a shared service within the group. Financial service is a shared service. The accountant or finance unit is a shared service within the group. Audit, for example, we use one auditor that helps us within the group. Legal, the same thing. You then go into administration, the same thing. So at the end of the day, it is more effective using shared resources within all these companies, as opposed each of these companies, having their HR, finance, doing it their way, and all of that. With centralized HR, you then have a group harmony, a group culture. So each business don't have different cultures. And once they all have a group culture, you can move a talent from one unit, go over to that unit, fix that problem, and come back. And that creates a very effective ecosystem, if you may. And that is so critical, especially in a market like ours with a barrage of headwinds when it comes to doing business. You don't want inefficiency to be one of your headwinds, things you can control. The things you can't control, the price of diesel, exchange rate, inflation, you have to
so
deal
be
with
it,
that.
right?
If the things you can control joins inflation and price of diesel and generator to fight you, come on. You can't let that happen. So that's one way of bringing in this efficiency. Another way, it's ensuring that the different subsidiaries all play complementary role. So take, for example, the fintechs don't have a problem marketing because the marketing subsidiaries are helping them with their marketing. So they already have a marketing advantage over their competitors.
Do they pay for that service? just asking.
Very important question. Very important. Yes, they do pay for that service.
Okay, of course,
So
it's subsidized.
they have to pay, but maybe not in cash.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll cross check one
payments
way or
can
the
be
other.
one way or the other. That can happen. So that's one aspect. and the fintech decides to perhaps service a client in Ghana, but doesn't have resources in Ghana, wants to have a meeting and needs a space in Ghana, the partner in Ghana walks into the wild fishing office in Ghana, sits over there and have a meeting with some of the representative or a live call with the fintech in Lagos. So there are so many ways of synergies. There are so many ways of synergy. So it's so important at the end of the day that the companies, from a service standpoint and product standpoint, value creating standpoint, complement each other. And if they don't, you have what they call a conglomerate discount, meaning they're like a family that are always fighting. They can't just live under one roof. Dysfunctional family. You just have to let them go, cut them out and let them go. But if they live in harmony, they live under the same roof, everybody contributes to the rent, everybody contributes to diesel, electricity. One person is a doctor, treats everyone. The other person is it's a counselor, counsels everyone. You didn't have a beautiful family with so much synergy and calmness and peace, and you most likely optimize to survive longer.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Two quick questions right on the back of that. So
Right.
all the groups today, all the units that makes the group, do they sit under the same roof today? Right, in terms of physical infrastructure,
No,
right?
no,
Okay, so they're different. Okay.
different. Yeah,
And then the other question, also a bit like a quick one. Do the businesses, do they recruit people from your training school?
absolutely. That's a classic example of the conglomerate
What integration?
premium. Yeah. So the training center, it's so critical for the group. It's not just a training center. So the finest brains, data analyst brains,
Yeah.
are heading straight to some of them. So what I have noticed is when I get the report from the training center, we're seeing a lot of accountants coming in for data analytics training. So the finest graduates have opportunity joining our accounting unit, and the
Yeah.
finest brains in digital marketing are joining our agencies and also joining the fintechs. We also have a situation where we had our domain expert, the trainers in cybersecurity,
Yeah.
helping us craft a cybersecurity strategy for one of the early, the fintech at the early stage. So they have to be that synergy. You can't allow those
That's
subsidiaries to
silo. Yeah.
be in silos. I won't let that happen.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much for all
No
that you've
worries.
shared so freely. So I appreciate that. Um, Now, speaking of people, Abbas, I've not been around for a while, but I know people can be painful. They can be pain. People can, you know, you don't have to have lived until 100 years, right? To know that people can be, difficult. Now, more especially if you are a business leader and, you recruit people, you have to part ways with people and all of that kind of stuff. So just want to ask you what your a few questions around this, right? So
Yeah,
have
sure,
you
sure.
had have you had like painful experiences with people, right? In terms of employee now, right? And how did you manage those? And what processes or what people practices beyond processes now? What people practices do you have in place now that helps you, not just attract but retain, right? Attract, develop, and possibly retain talent within your organization.
Absolutely. If you've been as long as we've been in the service business and the reach, yeah, if you've been as long as we've been in the service business, you will definitely have challenges with people. Absolutely, absolutely, because people come in all shapes and forms. And that's why you have to standardize your dealings with people. That's why you have the HR unit, you have a people's manager, you have a HR business partner, who comes up or who has this structure and processes in place to help deal with how people are attracted and how talents are attracted and retained, and at some point when they're leaving, how the transition takes place. It's so critical to have a process. Yes, I have had very difficult challenges, and not only that, too, people also evolve. You know, there was a time coming to work was a must. Then at some point, people don't understand why they should be in the office, and you're like, okay, you have to adapt, readapt, or adapt to the changes, post COVID changes that came to the marketplace. And example, a strategy I would like to share with some of the listeners, if there are anybody that are, thinking of optimizing performance. One of the things that we have done ourselves is to incentivize performance by stratifying work mode. So we have in office, hybrid, completely offsite. You're offsite completely. We don't even want to see you. Just work anywhere in the world, yeah. And for you to get to that stage, you have to score 80% on your appraisal and remain there without coming down. For you to be in hybrid mode, you have to be between, let's say, 80 and perhaps 60. The different strata of work mode. So if you have someone that is underperforming, he shows up in the office every day. And you don't like it because your co-workers are working remotely at home or hybrid. So everybody strives to get out of that work mode and get to where the icing is on the cake, which is fully remote. To get to where the meat is on the bone, which is fully remote, and to remain there. So inadvertently or intentionally, not inadvertently, but intentionally, we have built a system where everybody is working towards improving their performance because they want to get there. So I have staff I haven't seen for a whole year, and they're in Lagos, fully remote, but they are top performers. This is just one of the incentives, and most of the time, the people that are in office, they struggle, and after some time they get out of that and they move towards hybrid. From hybrid they move to fully remote, which is where everybody want to be. So that's a classic example of how what we're doing to in one of our subsidiaries to support and to encourage productivity. That doesn't mean it will work everywhere. It's just about thinking through solutions and methods and systems that can work for you, take into consideration the peculiarities of your business.
So, how do you ensure you attract the right talent?
Attracting the right talent, it's so critical. Attracting the right talent is so critical. For me, it's employer branding. It's not so much about money. It's something that we really need to work on, because the more if people love your brand, it reduces your cost of human capital. Okay? If I come out now and I say, guys, listeners, I am the HR manager of Apple and I want to hire a receptionist, and we would only pay the receptionist 50,000 naira a month, and they have to be in the office, sorry, Apple, Monday to Mondays, every day, 8 to 5. In Lagos, I will bet you there will be over 1,000 people applying, including people with PhD. Why? Because the employer brand is ferociously strong. Another person could come out, I'm going to pay guys 10 times what Apple is paying with flexible work, but because they don't know the brand, it affects the cost of capital. So building a strong employer brand is very critical to attracting talent. Again, that's not very easy for most small companies. It takes time to build and obviously cost a lot of money. But also work culture is so critical. A culture that resonates with your, not only the industry but the type of people you want to attract and retain. It's so important. In a creative environment, you would need to be more less restrictive. People are more expressive. In a startup environment, you also want to apply the same culture so people feel more comfortable coming to work in an environment like that. So retaining talent is so critical. Attracting and retaining is such critical. There are different ways to go about it. Building a strong employer brand is one of them. Having the right culture is another one. The third one, it's capacity development. When people see joining you would move them from point A to point B on their career journey, you get to attract people that way. So career development is a key part of our employee strategy or acquisition strategy, talent acquisition strategy. And strengthening the employer brand is also part of it. But I'm just highlighting the key components. So one, employer brand. Two, the culture, the organizational culture is very key. And then three, capacity development. There's so many, but I just want the learners, or sorry, your audience to go back with these three.
Yeah. That is very helpful. I'm sure that we can do a lot with those, right? Because I guess those are the
Absolutely.
fundamentals. If we get them right,
Yep.
things will begin to kind of teet upward. Thanks a lot for all that you shared. I think I want to begin to kind of bring this to a wrap, right? So that you can get back on the road, Lagos traffic and all that.
No worries.
the
Thanks.
the one two final thoughts that I want to, so a question and then I'll ask you to share your final thoughts, right? You kind of mention it brief, something along that line briefly the other time, but you probably want to expand on it. I remember you saying something like, thinking about it now, you wish you had started earlier, like 5 years earlier. And I was like, really? I want to, I wanted to think about that a little bit, and not just that, but overall, right? You've been on this journey for upward of 15 years. You've seen successes, you've seen failures, you've learned, you've had bruises, they've healed, they've got another one. And it's like, it's like the rite of passage, or what do they call it? Is the price you pay to be within that space. And I'm wondering, if you have to start it all afresh, right? Apart from starting 5 years earlier, going by the things you've learned and the things you've suffered and all of that, right? What would you do differently, right? That people can take to heart now and say, okay, maybe that would be helpful to me, right? One. And then the second follow up to that would be what your final word would be, or final words would be to our audience, right? Just like you're saying, okay, guys,
Right.
a note to my younger self.
And not to my younger self.
Take
Okay.
something like that.
All right. Thank you very much, Kunle. Kunle, I tell you something, yeah. I would have done, there are a lot of things I would have done differently. And one of the things I will do differently, I don't want to list a litany of things that could have been done differently, but I would say seek advice, seek counsel. A lot of times, because we're younger, or when people are very young, you feel you've seen it all, know it all, I have the energy, which is natural, youthful exuberance and all of that. It's absolutely I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I have the internet. Anything I need is on the internet. You know, that was my posture years ago when I was starting. Seek advice. Seek advice. Get a lot of counselors and all of that and advisors. And in terms of achievement, I just want to use this opportunity to to appreciate God. I wouldn't have been where I am today without God. Everything and all I am, it's by His grace and mercy. I just want to put that out there. I'm nothing without Him. And then to the last note to my younger self, to the audience, it's you need to be able to have you need to have clarity on who you are ultimately in life. What do you want to, where are you going to? Money is not It's not destination. I can tell you that for free. I have been, yeah, money's not a destination. You need to be very clear and define, for lack of better description, your North Star, what that North Star is. And a business is a part to that North Star. Money is a part to the North Star, not the destination. Business is not a destination. You can have all the money you want and you're not happy. You can have all the business success you need and you're not where you want to be. You need to clearly define it. A businessman I deeply admire, it's Alhaji Dangote. Deeply, passionately admire him. Irrespective of what anybody's posture is. He had an interview some time ago, or there was a write-up on him on the New York Times, I think yesterday, where he has set for himself like some North Star, which is how he can rescue his country. That is bigger than money. That is bigger than accolades and business and all of that. To him, he is now at a point where it's no more, obviously not food, shelter, and clothes. If you look at Maslow hierarchy of needs, where physiological is food, shelter, and clothes, and you keep going and all of that. He's at the top of the pyramid, obviously, but he is thinking way beyond the billions of dollars. He is thinking about legacy. He's thinking of inspiring African entrepreneurs. He's thinking about, it's not just money. You have to think about economic sovereignty for your country, production sovereignty for your country, technology sovereignty for your country, and let that fuel your energy and your passion in the world of business. So when the money comes, you're like, yes, I'm glad it's here, but this is not where I'm going to. I have millions and millions and millions of people to inspire. I have hundreds and thousands of people. I need to move out of poverty. I have to be able to help this country transition from the average, GDP per capita from $2 a day to $3 a day. So something more bigger and larger than you. So that would be my North Star passing. Sorry, that would be my note to my younger self. Leave the money, craft a North Star. Yes, money can be on that path to that North Star, but something way bigger than who you are, larger than life, and larger than yourself. Thank you very much, Kunle. Thank
Wow. Thanks so much, Abbas, for
Thank you,
coming on the
Kunle.
adventures. We are super thankful for for your coming and for sharing all that you shared so passionately, right?
Thank you.
We pray that the Lord will continue to preserve and keep you, right? And
Thank
He
you.
will perfect all that concerns you. Thanks a lot for coming around.
Thank you very much, Kunle. I appreciate. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and to see you on the next episode.